Hello, wherever in the world you are. My name is Paolo Malinverno. Um, this is a recording of my keynote at API Days in New York on the 1st of May 2024. My presentation is about the future, and as such is very, very difficult. It is about the future, and 2030 is my kind of limit, is about the usage of APIs in the next few years. And it's also about a risk that I see happening that is related to AI as well. But let's get through the material, and I'm sure, I'll keep you entertained, or I hope so, for the next half an hour or so. Now, I've been doing keynotes for API Days for quite some time now. These are, 3 past years in which I did keynotes. There's, as I said, there's a bit of history there. In particular, the keynote that I want to start from, because I like you to listen to me, and I like you to keep your attention high. So I need to give you a good reason for you to stay listening to me and for spending this time with me. Okay, you can see there, the keynotes I did. You can see a picture of me presenting as well. The one I really would focus on, though, is the one I did. It was about 1.5 years ago, December 2022 in Paris. And you can click if you want on that QR code, and it's going to get you to the recording of the presentation. The reason why I'm going to focus on that is that 1.5 years ago, API Days asked me to do a keynote on the next 5 years of the API economy. And 1.5 years have gone by. But it's interesting to see. Really how things have worked, whether I really got those right or not. And by all means, you're more than welcome to go to the recording and see that for yourself. The reason why the date is so significant is because it was more or less at the same time when a company that at that stage wasn't very, very famous. I mean, I knew about them because at the time I've been working for Gartner as an analyst on the API economy for 23 years. So I used to obviously be aware of the main trends and the history. And in the industry, sorry. So obviously, that presentation. Actually, I started a period of time where I was working for Salesforce at that stage. The date is very, very important. About 2 weeks, probably even less than that, before my keynote, ChatGPT was launched as a product by OpenAI. And obviously, at that stage, after 2 weeks, nobody really knew what was going on. But my slides were set beforehand. It's interesting to see, what that made, what the consequence was in my prediction at that stage. So here we go. Let's see what I got right and what I got less right. Well, there's plenty that I got right, actually. like the rise of business technologists, the fact that non-techies would use APIs, sustainability APIs, digital twins now becoming much more popular in banking, not just in manufacturing as there. And then obviously AI, you know. And one thing that I said very clearly is that there's going to be an increased use of AI APIs at scale. At that stage, as I said, ChatGPT was nothing. But I could see, obviously APIs being commercialized, being published on ChatGPT. And obviously I could see, plenty of usage for that. At that stage, as I said, ChatGPT was starting, very few people knew about it. But it's certainly different from what is the situation is today. And I'm sure, by now you want to know what I got probably not that right, at that stage. But I mean, mainly one thing really I didn't get right. And it was the predictions that I had on the metaverses and the intraverses. You see, in the moment, ChatGPT rocketed, really, really rocketed in front of everybody's attention. Obviously, a lot of the money of investors was focused either on generative AI and OpenAI in particular, and especially the Microsoft deal between OpenAI and Microsoft went very, very public. But in general, all the investment that was being poured into the metaverses, investors said, hey, hold on, there's something here that is a bit more interesting and is poised for much more growth than metaverse. And so all the money that was poured into the metaverses and the intraverses really got diverted into AI and generative AI. I did say, I did get a few, even, but anyway, I obviously, that was something that I was kind of, it was in the back of my mind. That's why I said, you can see at the point C, the metaverse is still evolving a lot and it's too far away to make API assumptions for us. That's what really made me say that. And again, it's in the slides and it's just my talk track. But anyway, there are things I got kind of half right, which was the rise of immersive technologies, which have come a long way. And my warning about, millionaires running social networks and the consequences that would have in the industry. So that's really my justification why you should keep listening to this, because I tend to get things right. Okay, obviously I won't get everything right. So if I'm now starting talking about the way to 2030, I hope we get a few things right, and hopefully, when API Days will ask me for another keynote in 2 or 3 years, we'll see where we are, and I'll do a retrospective on this presentation as well. The first thing to say is that there is no AI without APIs. For a technology company that is going to market either with a large language model or with any type of AI technology, publishing APIs into that is the easiest way to market. And also, for a user company wanted to add some AI to existing applications, calling APIs into these AI platforms is the easiest way to start weaving some AI into this application. So that's very, very easy to say that there is no AI without APIs. Applications will change. They are changing already. A lot of AI will be put into it. And people say, oh, we will start, using keyboards and we'll start talking to applications, and that's okay. And by the way, it works well with English. But if you're not, if you're not in an English-speaking country, it works less well. Everything from the voice recognition to the parsing of a phrase in natural language, and to basically the conclusions. And the level of hallucinations typically spikes, when the first few phases are not really there. So it's not only about that. If I'm interacting with an application and in natural language, the application is going to ask me questions. So in this particular situation, what do you want? If I'm in banking and the application is an internal application for a potentially small bank or a credit union, for example, and the application is trying to understand whether to approve a mortgage for a specific individual, there will be some dialogue between the application and a banking operator. Now, obviously, the application will ask questions. But if it's through AI, the application will learn. And if it recognizes patterns, oh, this much revenue, the person has a stable job, the house mortgage is below a certain level. If they start recognizing patterns, then they will start asking, the application will start asking, so should we automatically approve this? Because it matches a specific pattern. And then the user will say, yeah, sure, for the future, if those are the conditions, just approve them. So, and that's what AI does. It takes decision powers out of humans, which in cases like this is useful because it allows the bank to process many more applications at the same time. But it does have the unpleasant consequence of humans being devoid of decision power. And that has a lot of consequences, really. So applications will learn and we take decisions, and it will go through APIs. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around the API. What I'd like to spend the next 5 minutes on is to understand what happens when AI gets it wrong. Because this is not being talked at all, or very rarely. Okay, I give you 2 examples here. On the left, you see a Facebook post. The Queensland Symphony Orchestra in Australia wanted to promote a specific night to a specific audience who typically wouldn't go to symphonies and to classical music. So you have there, they ask, an unnamed image generation AI package to generate an image for it. So obviously they went through, specific things in the prompt, and this the image got generated and then published on Facebook. Now, what you see in this image are, a very young and attractive, Asian couple, very smartly dressed, which was, one of the main audiences of the symphony orchestra, and they were trying to attract them, to get them to come. But, once you look at the picture, you start seeing a few things wrong. First of all, you see the man in this picture, he seems to be wearing the same gown as the woman he is with. And obviously nobody would go to a concert with a gown like that. But certainly no man who would be wearing a jacket and a monkey suit like you see in this picture. And then there is this kind of, you can see in the lower left side of the picture, there is this, I don't know, black cube that seems to be in front of the lady. And there's nothing like that. When you go and listen to a symphony, there's much more wrong. Look at, in this picture, look at the number of fingers of this couple. Look at the violinists. And by the way, the orchestra is behind the couple. The text of the Facebook post says, "Come and see an orchestra play." This couple will not see the orchestra play if the orchestra is behind you, which is never going to happen in any concert anywhere in the world. And then the concert, the orchestra is mainly violins, which are okay, sitting down. But there's much bigger instruments that wouldn't fit, on a seat in front of them. There's much more wrong. Some violinists seem to have one arm. Some violinists seems to have 0 arms, or 2 or 3. There's much more wrong in the picture. What actually happened was that all the people saw all of these wrong things in this Facebook post, and this really didn't go well for the Queensland Symphony Orchestra. They got a lot of slack online, and they decided to pull the advert, and certainly it didn't work as an advertisement to get new people at the orchestra. So if AI goes wrong this way, it just means that because of the lack of supervision, it doesn't meet their requirements of the reason why it was generated in the first place. So it worked against what the symphony orchestra wanted to do. Now, another example, you have it on the right side of this slide, is the Google Pizza joke. It just went online. I know there is a link there to the complete joke. The joke goes that there's a guy who kind of phones up his local pizza joint and he wants to order a pizza, and then the voice on the other side of the phone says, "It's actually Google Pizza now. We took over." And I said, "Okay." I said, "So did you want the usual?" And he says here, "Well, the usual for you is pizza with cheeses, sausages, thick crust. Fairly unhealthy if you want, but that's the pizza that the guy wanted." And so the voice on the other side says, "May I suggest a much healthier pizza?" And he says, No, I don't want that. I don't want that." We say, "Yeah, but your cholesterol is not good, sir." He said, "What do you mean your cholesterol is not good?" And we got medical records and results of your blood test. And then he says, "Well, I'm taking medications against cholesterol." And the guy said, "No, but," and Google Business said, but you're not taking it." "What do you mean you're not taking it?" Yeah, because, you should have bought more of these medicines by now. And basically the whole conversation gets, kind of goes off the tangent, the wrong tangent. At the end, the guy says, "Oh, listen, you know what? I want to go to a place where there is no control, there is nothing, there is no big brother that watches over me." And the Google Pizza says, "Well, that's going to be tough because you don't have the money and your passport is out of date." Beside the joke, you can see very well how, and in this case, is lack of privacy on the data. And I get back to that because, there is legislation now all over the world now, starting in the US as well, on the protection of banking data. But this is a kind of a a much more degenerative, if you want, example of AI going wrong, where basically you can't do what you want to do because there is this sort of big brother behind you that knows everything about you. Okay, so how can we prevent all the degenerations of AI? I need you to hold that thought for about 2 or 3 slides. Okay. Another major trend, there is not only AI happening, okay, from here to 2030. Another major trend is open finance, which is the way in which common citizens like you and me will protect their banking data and will decide who that banking data gets sent to. Okay. And the banks will be able to open up and basically find new things, new services for customers like me and you, based on the kind of openness that each one of us will require. As I said, there's regulations coming down in most of the parts of the world, especially the US lately, with one that should start in October, about a month really before the presidential election in the US. Open banking is not a new thing, is the way that is the way that banks offer innovative services to their customers, and innovative services through their partners, which could be fintechs, and actually things that their customer might be using already, like things, I don't know, like Revolut, for example, services that are, much more open, financial consolidation sites, because almost nobody only deals with one bank. They deal with many financial institutions. Why 2024? Because I think that 2024 will be the time in which the critical mass will push standards for all this. And by the way, you can see at the bottom of this slide there is a roundtable in which some of the actors of open banking in the US are going to discuss regulations and the value of open banking. There is a bank that says, look, since we started open banking, there's a series of benefits, and these are the numbers, in terms of, new clients that we kept, less clients that we lose, and it's and more, obviously, revenue for the bank. So it's an interesting one. Have a look if you're interested. Another major trend is the fact that APIs that typically were consumed by developers are now being consumed by non-developers. As long as there's a black box there that, I give this much to the black box and it comes back with these results. There are a lot of business technologists, as they are called, who will be people with a business degree, but certainly not with a technology degree. They're able to compose new interactions with the clients. Now, the business technologists have started using APIs now since a couple of years, as you can see in my previous presentation. But there's going to be more and more. There's chatbots consuming API. There's going to be devices. Some of them are there already. Digital customers, which will be basically AI-powered digital entities that are going to reorder goods on behalf of retailers and negotiate the prices. And then, obviously there's generative AI. Generative AI is going to consume APIs like crazy. And is going to help developers to design APIs, going to help developers to find APIs, once they need an API to get the interaction done that they needed to get done. So All of this seems to be pointing to one place. As developers, do you still matter? And the answer is, of course you do. You do more than ever. Okay, more than ever. And please give me 2 slides of time to illustrate that point. Now, it's fair to say that you need to govern AI APIs, and you need to govern them more than anything else. AI APIs are taking decisions, or they're suggesting that the consumer of the AI API takes decisions. So they are much more powerful than any other API. So if you provide AI APIs, just point blank refuse to inject bias in them. If you are a developer and you're supposed to produce an API that is, let's call it independent, okay, well, then you're the one who is going to put non-independent things in, okay, and hide them, okay. So ask yourself, is that the right thing to do? I'll refuse just to inject bias. If it's very easy to hide bias in AI APIs, very easy. And there's going to be plenty of consumers that will trust that there is no bias there. So as a developer of AI API, you should take that into account. Also, once the API is ready, take into account that all the consumption of your API will be benign. There will be plenty of malicious ways that people will find to use that APIs. And, there's lots there that you can use today to prevent your APIs to be used in a malicious way. Please, think about if there was rate limiting on APIs on social networks. Think about the last few elections. Would they have gone in a different way? So the policies of that have always been there. Rate limiting is one of the first policies in API gateways. There are AI API gateways being worked on. There's a lot of API security that is fairly sophisticated that will help you enforce proper and ethical consumption of the APIs you design. On the converse, if you consume AI APIs, these AI APIs are black boxes for you. And also, the first thing that you should think about is to assess the risks of this API that is giving you skewed results. So independent results that are following, the business priorities. Typically, whoever is providing the API, ask yourself other questions. Obviously, who did it? Where does it come from? Can you train the algorithm with your own data? I know it's expensive, but it's worth doing it. Can you trust the results of the APIs? And what happens if the APIs gives you back skewed results, which is something that you should always ask yourself, even when you use a search engine today. And I've been using search engines for tens of years. But so they need to be governed. I see a lot of sleepwalking into AI technology. Into AI technology might be biased, might be used wrongly. But AI doesn't run the world yet. And that depends obviously on how quickly you can see the Terminator scenario coming towards you. Certainly start using as much as you can AI capabilities. Go at the pace of your company's risk tolerance. Never exceed that. Decide and limit the use of your APIs depending on whether you want to allow non-human consumption of it or not. Now, and frequently, there's going to be a lot of scenarios that is typically not black and white. AI takes decisions. It is not like any other thing. Not any other thing. There's a YouTube video there you can see a link to when a rock star shares his really his doubts and concerns about worth looking at concerns about the level of investment in AI as opposed to the level of investment in human intelligence. It's really, it really makes you think. But to conclude, that is the main question you want to answer. Whoever is looking at this webinar, you have a role in either preventing bias into AI API or preventing bias in the usage of AI API. So unethical, unuseful, skewed, deceiving usage of AI API goes through you. Okay, goes through you. It cannot be possible without you letting it go or putting it in. On the contrary, good usage of AI technology goes through you as well. So who do you want to be? Do you want to be the one that just looks at profit, maybe of the company you work for, and actually puts a bias or unethical things into an API? Or do you want to be the one that says, no, listen, this is not right? Okay. And I hope you won't sleepwalk there. Thank you very much.